Welcome to the Overdrive Outdoors podcast.
Your source for everything outdoors.
Let's kick it into overdrive.
Overdrive Outdoors podcast brought to you by Predator Hunter Outdoors. Whether you are new to predator hunting or looking to upgrade your equipment, Predator Hunter Outdoors will have you hunting after the sun goes down. Carrying a full line of lights, night vision, and thermal optics, along with tripods, calls, mounting systems, and more, check them out at www.predatorhunteroutdoors.com or on Facebook at Predator Hunter Outdoors. Use promo code OVERDRIVE2021 for 20% off your order.
All right, this is going to be episode 1 of the new Overdrive Outdoors podcast. We have tried this in the past 3-4 years ago. We're just going to basically revamp it and bring it back to y'all here. I, for anybody that don't know, am Josh Mapes. I have my brother Joe with me.
How we doing?
Mike Luttrull.
Howdy.
We are up here in the UP doing some predator control for a cattle farmer in a beautiful bunkhouse, all handmade by the landowner out of his own mill. Absolutely gorgeous up here, isn't it, guys?
Yeah, it's impressive that it's all out of his own mill.
Every time you walk in the door, smell of fresh
Cedar.
Yeah. But we are up here coyote hunting for the weekend. So far, this will be night 3 tonight. We have 4 down so far out of
11 seen.
11 or 10? We saw 7 the first night and what?
No, 10.
3 last night. So yeah, we've seen 10 up here in the first 2 nights. The first 4 didn't even give us shots up here. But
No, they circle way downwind.
yeah, but we'll get to all that here in a little bit. But start off, we're basically just going to introduce who we are, what we love about this, how we got started. I'll go last. So Mike, tell us who you are, how you got started into this, why you do it.
How you doing? I'm Mike Luttrull. So I've been an avid hunter. What?
How you say your last name?
Luttrull, yeah.
I've been saying it wrong for 2 years.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
I feel like a prick.
All right, so
But,
continue.
Avid hunter my whole life since I can remember. I just recently started getting into coyote hunting 3 years ago. Actually from watching Overdrive and my brother-in-law on the team, and just got more and more interested in it. Something I never tried, and so I got with them guys and bought some equipment, got into it. And luckily, another guy on our team, Kevin Raw, kind of took me under his wing and took the learning curve right out of it. Kind of jumped me forward a lot. I listened to people talk about, it's taken me 6 years to even see a coyote. I can't call nothing in.
That was me.
And me, because I was with you.
Yeah, so I'm blessed to be able to get into this sport and have mentors and be on a team that is willing to help, take that learning curve down for people. And and that's one thing that's I like being on this team also, is that we don't try to hide information from people either, and willing to help the Joe Blow that doesn't have a clue what he's doing. Send us messages. And anyways, that's kind of how I got into it, just the excitement and the thrill of watching the videos, and I wanted to be partake in that and see where it went, and it's skyrocketed pretty fast. A very expensive hobby is what it's turned into.
You said yesterday we were talking about it. You said I thought deer hunting was expensive.
Yeah, deer hunting. I don't. I got a lot of equipment and a lot of camo and guns and tree stands, and coyote hunting is.
None of that does any good for you.
No, it's coyote hunting's definitely surpassed all of that, very very fast.
And what did you start with?
So I started with a the 6.5 Grendel that Kevin Raw actually made for me. He recommended the caliber. I didn't even know what a 6.5 Grendel was before meeting Kevin and
I
you
didn't
guys.
either. That's Kevin's.
It's Kevin's round. It's his. Yeah, he loves that round, and I wanted something that would be multi-purpose, versatile. That way, my kids could use it for hunting, deer hunting, and he flat out told me, he says, anything in North America, this round will take down. I can use it on elk, I can use it on bear, I can use it on deer, all the way down, to coyotes and red fox. It does not do very well on, but
Probably depends on ammo choice.
but ammo
Kills
choice, it does the job, but it's not a very fur friendly round. 95 grains are not fur friendly for a fox, but and then so I got that round or that gun built, and I started with the 4K night vision system for ATN. That was I didn't get the privilege of doing red lights and learning that way. I do have a red light system.
Privilege is in quotation marks.
Very big privilege, yeah, quotation marks. Yeah, I do have a red light headlamp that I have and honestly never tried. I wouldn't mind trying it for that learning experience.
It lasts about 5 minutes, and you just say, "Screw this! I'm going back to thermal."
Yeah, I'm bringing my thermal out. Yeah.
But if you weren't using thermal and night vision at this point,
It will do
what
the
you
trick.
had.
It would be the only tool that I would have. Yeah, then it would something I would have to work on, and you would adapt and learn.
Yeah.
No different than every other kind of hunting. I don't always have the best equipment of everything, so you learn to adapt and make the best of what you got and try to get your success rate up as high as you can.
And Joe, what about you? Who are you? Why are you coyote hunter?
I ask myself that constantly. So I'm Joe Mapes, Josh's younger brother. Been hunting since I was a kid. We grew up waiting for Dad to come home with deer during deer season. Wait until we were 12 to deer hunt, and it's just been in our blood. Josh started coyote hunting when I was probably 16.
No, I started coyote hunting when I was 16.
Okay, so you were 16, so I was 12. So I didn't have, I deer hunted for a year and then got into coyote hunting with Josh. We had red lights with a fanny pack with a 6-volt battery in it. And we would go out with our 17 HMRs or 22s at night. We called for 4 years before I even saw my first coyote.
Yep.
And that was up in Manistee when we'd go up and camp, and that was a blast. We were hooked ever since. I took a break in 2012. I went to Marine Corps boot camp, came back. 2013, I ended up having a kid, and I took a break for 6 years from coyote hunting. And I had a surgery one morning. I called Josh. I said, "Why don't we go out coyote hunting? I'll tag along for a night and see how it goes." And he set me up with night vision. What was I running? The 4K that night. That was the first time I was ever behind night vision.
And a thermal scanner.
And a thermal scanner. And within 15 minutes, we had a pair come in. And it was the coolest thing ever.
Mm-hmm.
Watching them two come running in. They circled downwind. We didn't get a shot, but I was hooked. We hunted that night. I think we called in 6 or 8 coyotes that whole night. Killed 2. I hit one and we didn't find it. But I was hooked ever since then. I was running a 223 AR that I had. I ran that for a couple months until I built the 6.5 Creedmoor AR-10 build. I threw the 4K on that. And I actually shot my first coyote with that and scanning with a red light in February of 2019. Scanned with that for 3 months until I saved up enough for thermal. I wouldn't go back after that, but I killed, I think, 5 coyotes with a red light scanning and night vision. And that first year back, I killed 15 coyotes.
So I think one of the big things for people to take into consideration here is when I started doing this, which I don't even know what year that was, 2010 10, 9, I don't know, something like that. Well, I started when I was still in high school, and back then, I mean, I think at that point my job was at McDonald's, and you didn't make a lot of money.
You didn't need much to do it though. You
No.
didn't have night vision. It was available, but it was expensive.
And thermal was even more expensive.
10 or 13 grand for thermal.
Yeah.
And it wasn't anything compared to what we have nowadays.
Well, and back then we also didn't have any of the Facebook stuff really that was
No.
all predator related. You didn't hear about these companies that were offering. Thermal wasn't always a offering for coyote hunting.
Mm-mm.
It was an expensive piece of equipment that was offered mostly military at that point, I believe. I don't know that for sure, but it wasn't. You didn't have all these different companies putting out thermal or night vision products back then that anybody that had a job working a drive-through window at McDonald's could afford.
And all the information you could find was on public forums
Yep.
online. It
Yep.
wasn't Facebook pages or groups that of guys that you knew. There wasn't a bunch of people coyote hunting in Michigan.
No, there wasn't hardly any people back then coyote hunting unless they just were and they weren't talking about it, which there's a lot of people that we still know kill a lot of coyotes and they don't get
They
online.
don't broadcast it.
Yep.
Landowners that I've met that talk to me about coyote hunting all the time when they were growing up, but
Yep.
just something that never took off. Nobody ever got big into it.
Yep, but back then, I think, man, we originally started running Primos Night Blaster red lights. They hooked onto your scope, and you had to run a wire down to a battery pack, which, like Joe said, we had fanny packs around our waist. We were wearing white Tyvek painter suits that we had spray painted sticks and leaves on.
And
just
going
to
out
make
to
it
public
break up.
land because
Yep.
we didn't have private land to hunt.
Yep, and back then it was only rimfire or shotgun at night, so there was no center fire at night at all for coyote hunting. We had 17s. I think both of us had 17 HMRs
I still
back at that
have the
point.
exact same one that I started with.
Yep, and I had a 22 mag for a while, and I don't think I even shot at a coyote with that, but it took me seriously 4 years of calling, and I called often.
To even see a coyote.
Yep, and that was to even lay eyes on one. But what got me started, I believe, was I was sitting in a tree stand over by your old house, and I saw 2 or 3 coyotes chasing something across the field. I don't remember what it was, but I said, "Man, them would be fun to hunt. I wonder what the rules on them are." And I looked it up, and I think I went to Walmart or Myers at the time, and they had a Randy Anderson Calling All Coyotes DVD. And I bought that, came home, watched it, and thought, man, look at this dude shooting coyotes all day long, wide open fields, high winds, no winds, sunny days, blowing snow days, just killing them. And I think it didn't take us very long to figure out that was not true for what we were going to
We
experience.
probably damn near wore out those DVDs too.
Yeah, and I've
Watched them
still
over
got
and
them
over
all.
again.
But that's kind of what got me started, was just seeing a couple and just wanting something else to hunt. They were open back then. There was a season on them. It was, I believe, July 15th through April 15th, and you
Yeah,
had to give them
sounds
three
right.
3 months off for
Sounds
pup
about right.
season. So we hit it pretty hard when we could, but we were also avid deer hunters. So during deer season, we never did any of this stuff.
And young and couldn't afford much.
Young, naive, stupid, didn't care, wanted to just go hunting. But hunting kept us probably out of a lot of trouble
Oh yeah, without a doubt.
because we did that so often. That was our thing. That was like Joe said. We waited for our dad to come home all the time with deer when he'd go deer hunting, and Dad started taking us along as soon as we could. Usually, he'd take us out for at least a walk through the woods, go scouting or whatever. And so we've been hunting our whole, forever. We've been shooting stuff, at least. We've always had bows. We've always had BB guns. There's always been something. But opening up another season for us in coyote hunting, it probably saved us from a lot of crap
A
trouble.
lot of free time.
Yep.
Especially at night.
Yep.
Go out at night and there's no time to drink or do anything that you shouldn't be doing because
Especially when you're 12.
yeah. Wow.
But we, like I said, we started with those Primos Night Blaster lights, and I think you could get them online for like $85, $90, something like
I
that.
don't
at
even
the
think
point.
they were that expensive.
No, but you had to carry that stupid 6-volt battery.
It was
You had
an
to
incandescent bulb. It
Yep.
wasn't LED or anything like that.
and it had that red flip-up cap that we always
Lost.
would knock off when we were walking in.
So we'd lose it walking in or walking out. Then we ended up just making our own covers and spray painting them with a clear or red. And yeah, we we ran that for probably 6 years, and we didn't see. It was hard to tell what anything was. Identification was difficult.
Yep, because
And-
they probably had a maybe 200-yard beam.
Yeah, so listening to all this, I'm really sad I didn't go through all this.
Are you? We
Yeah.
can get you back into this, no problem.
Yeah.
Red lights work.
Mike won't be running a scanner tonight.
He's gonna be running a red
a
light.
flashlight.
I get a flashlight in the corner.
So now we've pretty much come up and graduated. I'm 32 now. Joe's 28. Mike, how old are you?
36.
36. So, 15, 16 years later, we are finally to the point where it's like we can.
Consistently call and kill coyotes.
Yeah, and we don't even consider ourselves good.
No.
It's just, we have an idea of what to do. And even up here, how many times this weekend have we already said, well, dang, what the heck are they doing that for?
Yeah, how do we change our tactics? And
Yep.
like I said, yeah, that's a big thing too, learning and adapting to that. That's what I was talking about earlier, adapting. We've only been up here, this will be our third night, and just already trying to figure out a different way and a different process to call these coyotes, because they're different from where we're at right now, different stage of where they're at. So learning and adapting, I guess, yeah, what I would say is big.
Well, and even just the difference in, like, location. Like, we live down in, I wouldn't say southern Michigan, but
Southwest.
southwest Michigan, and our tactics and our ways of calling coyotes might vary from you. I've gone down south and hunted with people that have completely different opinions on wind and pressure and everything like that too.
Mhm.
People would rather no wind at all and hunt, and I'd rather 6 to 8 miles an hour. Otherwise, for me, there's no point in even wasting time.
It's all adapting, and there's constantly learning in this. And if you ever quit learning it, then
There's no point in them more, I don't think.
if they don't surprise you at least once. Last night you got a surprise.
I got a surprise last night. Yeah.
But we'll get to those stories here in a little bit from what's been happening this weekend. So I'm just thinking, how drastically things have changed since we first started this. I also don't believe back then there was nearly as many coyotes as there are now. Back when we started. 2008, 2009, 2010. It just didn't seem like the population was near what it is
I
anymore.
want to say no, but
We don't know that because we didn't.
I don't know what would have changed that would have brought the population up.
Yeah,
No.
if you didn't had your knowledge back then and how you have it now, would you have seen and been more successful?
I just don't know that we played the wind the way that we should have. I don't think we understood it the way that we should have. And
Back
Probably
then,
educated a lot.
how many times did we call in coyotes?
that we never knew.
We walked out of fields and there were coyote tracks on our boot tracks.
Yeah.
So we just couldn't see them.
Yep, and that's mostly because we were rookies and we still are novice.
Well, if I'm being honest, I took a lot of naps when we were running red lights. Because we didn't run them constantly. We would wait about 15, 30 seconds and then scan. And I'd start dozing off. But we missed a lot of coyotes. And you learn.
Missed as in didn't see them.
Yes.
We didn't do any shooting for the first
4 or 5, 6 years of coyote hunting. I didn't see any until you and I started making those yearly trips up to Manistee.
Yep.
We'd
run public land.
We'd get a hotel room for a weekend, and you had kids.
Yeah.
You had little ones at that point in time, so your wife and kids would come up, and we'd all
They go
crash in the
swimming in the
hotel.
pool.
They'd
Well,
go swim in the hotel, in the hotel pool, and we'd go out and coyote hunt all night. Or all day long, and then...
Yeah, because we didn't even night hunt that much when we went
didn't
up
night
there.
hunt at all up there.
Mm-mm.
We hunted during the day. We hunted first morning, or first light, and then evenings. And that's where the second year up there is when we first saw our first coyotes.
Well, not me. I'd killed one at that point. I was just going to get to that. Tell him.
Yeah, that's right.
You know, my first coyote, I just shared a picture of it the other day on our Facebook page, but I don't remember what year it was, 09 or something.
That sounds about right.
I had moved in with my now wife down south and gotten permission from a landowner, and I still hadn't seen a coyote at this point. But see, the funny thing is, talking about the population, how many times do we used to go around locating and there'd be coyotes howling everywhere?
Mm-hmm.
And we'd go try to hunt them the next morning or whatever, knowing that they were right there, and we still didn't see them.
Well, that's the thing with coyotes too. Is just because you locate them at night,
Mm-hmm.
they're not going to be there the next morning.
Yeah, we
They
just
could
did
be
that last night.
miles away.
Yep, we just had that last night where there was one howling right here, and we just tried a daylight set an hour and a half ago in the same location trying to bring it out, but we don't know if it's still in there or not right this second, but
Somewhere around, but
more than likely there's a den in that area where it was, but
coyotes move a lot.
a lot. And that's one thing people need to remember is just because you don't go out and call one in tonight. If I don't call one in on a field or miss one or shoot one, even if I do call one in and shoot one, if I feel like there's more coyotes in that area, I might go hunting again the next night if it is properly set up for doing so.
And I've learned over the past 2 years, I keep track of temps, the moon phase, barometric pressure, and everything of where my properties, what I'm hunting, all the pressures and everything, and when I see coyotes. Because if the pressure's not right, you might not see a coyote in one spot where you might see it in another spot.
Mm-hmm.
It all depends on where they're at and if they're mousing fields or if they're hungry or if they're denned up or whatever.
Well, but back to that story, but my first coyote, I had gotten permission from a landowner down the road, and he said, yeah, you're welcome to come out and try my land. And I had hunted it a couple times with no action, which I was used to at that point, not seeing anything, not calling anything in. And I remember one night, that night I killed that one, I was out there playing Rabbit Distress, and back then, what did I have? That Fox Pro 416B, and it had 16 sounds on it. That was your option. You had one of 16 sounds.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember shining that Primos Night Blaster down there and just seeing fire eyes staring into that light. And I thought, well, there's something down there, but that property is also loaded with deer.
With deer and everything.
Deer and raccoons, and I kept calling, and it was a minute and a half, 2 minutes later, this coyote came running in. Absolute adrenaline rush, watching him run in that light. And I shot it with a 17 HMR and broadside and watched it run about 100 yards and tumble. And that, I don't know what kept me going for so long. What kept me going blank after blank after blank after blank for 4 years.
That'd be tough.
It was ridiculous, but when the drive for hunting is in you to begin with, when the passion for being out there is in you to begin with, I guess it's just something when you want to do it, if you want to do it bad enough, you're going to just get it done.
For me, it was hanging out with you. It gave me an excuse to get out and hang out with you. I didn't see anything for 4.5 years, but I got to spend some time with other people.
Yep, and that was my first coyote. Do you remember your first coyote, Mike?
Yeah. I think I just got done building that 6.5 Grendel on an air platform, and I got permission from...
This is within the past 2 years, so for anybody listening, this is long after the center fire at night rule
Yes.
came in.
Got permission from a landowner right across the street from my house. Always hearing vocals. Never hunted them yet. And Kevin decided to come over one night. He says, yeah. He says, let's give it a shot. I didn't have no calls. And actually, at the time when I shot my first coyote, I didn't even have a thermal scanner yet. So I was relying on Kevin as my eyes.
Which is hard to do.
It's hard to stand out there and
in the dark and not look.
And not look and just stand there and just wait for the anticipation of saying, oh, there's something. We were not out in that field for more than, I would say, well, back that up. We get out there and we had some coons come out right away to us, and he called in these raccoons, and they came within a couple feet of me, and just that adrenaline rush of just having something that close, in the dark was pretty interesting. But we were in that field doing I think he was doing just mouse squeaks or
Kevin
something.
likes those rodent squeaks.
Yeah, them really low tone pitch and just really quiet on the volume. And he says, hey, I think we got something coming in right now. And my heart raced so bad. I was shaking so much. I think Kevin could hear my heartbeat. I was shaking so bad. And I got on the 4K and turned it on, and I had to ask. I was so scared to make a mistake. I'm like, do I turn my 4K on now? Do I turn my IR on right now? Here he's like, just stay calm. Just here it comes. And this female was just mousing right to us, and I ended up shooting her. I don't know. I would say around 75 yards. And she spun a couple of times, the infamous coyote spin, after you hit him. And it dropped. And I yelled out so loud, I was so excited. And he was like, shh, quiet, there
might be another one.
There might be more. And here I'm jumping around and, woo. And he's like, oh my God, calm down. He probably thought I was absolutely crazy.
Yeah.
But I was hooked right then. I mean, and it was funny, my wife could hear the gunshot across the road, and so she's texting me, did you shoot one? Dragging that coyote up there and having all my kids come out and see it, and it was just, from that moment on, I was just absolutely hooked. The adrenaline rush of that.
Joe, do you remember yours?
Yeah. So I was talking about going to Manistee. Josh and I called in to double our second year up there.
63 minutes into the set.
And we're laying in the middle of this field. And he says, there's coyotes. I think we called in a triple or a quad. Because there were two that we saw, and we saw a third one at least.
I don't remember.
And then we ended up walking around the field. But anyways, two of them came out. Josh got on the one on the right, and I got on the one on the left. And Josh said, looks about 300 yards, hold just over its back. Shot, missed, and found out it was about 175 yards.
And that was with a 22-250.
No, 243.
Okay.
And just a glass scope, 300 yards, hold over its back, and I missed it.
And that was in daylight.
That was in daylight. And then I missed another one 2 years later up in Manistee again. I hadn't seen any between those two time frames.
Same piece of property, I remember that. Different side of the road.
Yep. I had just gotten back from boot camp and forgot how to zoom my scope because I wasn't used to using a glass scope.
Cheap Barska scopes aren't the same as what they use in the Marines, apparently.
So I missed that one. And then, like I said, I took a couple years off. In 2019, I went out with Josh. It was that night that I hit one, jumped up on a round hay bale, and laid down. And we got it on video. I hit it, and it took off, went down to the gravel pits, and we never found it again. So that was the first one I hit. And then I was hooked after that night. Went and bought
because we saw so many.
And the thermal and night vision changes the game entirely. Without that, it's difficult. It's challenging.
Mm-hmm.
But
still doable.
Yes. So then I bought the 4K, built my Creedmoor, and I had a red light to scan. I was married at the time. I had kids. We went out and got pizza and drove through. It was February, and we had fresh snow coming down. I got one property I got permission on. Just that same day, she called me at work and said, "Yeah, you got permission to come out and shoot coyotes whenever." I said, we got fresh snow. We got home. It was 8 o'clock at night. I said, I'm going to go drive around and see if there's coyote tracks. And there was a fresh set of coyote tracks going right into that piece of property. So I rushed back home, grabbed all my stuff, and I went out there, set up, and I didn't even have a caller at that point in time. I had hand calls that I had from like 2008.
Mm-hmm.
Little tiny rabbit distress that I let out 2 howls on it, and then I went into rabbit distress. And I'm scanning with a red light, and I see a set of eyes coming down. I thought it was, the first set was a raccoon. My heart was racing. I'm trying to look through the scope, through the night vision, and it was still coming down. It's hard to see in snow with night vision because the IR reflects off everything. And I just could barely make out that it was a raccoon. I went right back to rabbit distress and saw another set of eyes pop up coming down this fence line, and I knew right away it was a coyote. So I got on it, turned the video on, started recording, and I dumped him at like 50 yards. And found out that I called it a double that night. I just didn't realize it until I rewatched the video. But I've been hooked ever since. And that coyote, the next day, I took it to Josh's, and that was the first coyote I ever ate too.
Oh yeah, yeah. We've eaten a couple of them now.
And yeah, I cut the back straps off of that after the release for Canine Grand Prix in 2019. That you were a release point for that. So I brought the coyote over there. We were talking with all the guys that were on the team. Jeremy showed me how to skin it.
Jeremy, for anybody that doesn't know, Jeremy Kennedy, that's Mike Luttrull's brother-in-law. And that's who he kind of was introduced to us by, is Jeremy.
He's on our team, and he gave me some pointers on how to skin it because he's a taxidermist, and so he skinned it. I cut one of the back straps off. We seasoned the living hell out of that thing, threw it on the grill.
It smelled so good, too.
Went live, and I ate it, and it tasted exactly like they smell. Yeah, that's my first coyote that I actually killed. I missed a couple. I haven't stopped missing either. I consistently miss.
So that's why the Mapes name is known worldwide by people now. So I mean, you've only got 2 years of hunting these under your belt.
Yeah, just 2 years.
And
I only got 2 years of taking it seriously since I got back into it.
Yep. I've been doing it consistently for 16 years now. And like I said earlier, I still consider myself to be a novice. A couple of our guys have skipped the red light stage. You skipped the red light stage. I know Joe might skip the red light stage. But we still, that's just how we all came up. So anybody listening to this that's wanting to get into coyote hunting, it doesn't take thermal. It doesn't take night vision. You don't have to have all that stuff to be a coyote hunter. It just it will drastically alter the game for you.
Yes, very much.
Now what scanner are you running?
The Pulsar Helion XQ38.
Okay, and I run now an ATN OTS 640 core scanner. I run an ATN Thor 4 scope. But this is after doing this for so long. And the funniest thing about this to me is when you consider how much, and we don't, hopefully our wives won't listen to this.
Yeah, this is going to be a bad part of this podcast here.
You consider how much money we've got into coyote hunting. What do we really gain from it, in all honesty? Besides, in my opinion, my favorite part is getting these landowners like where we're at right now to trust us on their land.
I was just going to say
You shake their hand, they're happy to have you up here killing their coyotes, puts you up in this amazing bunkhouse 1.2 miles off of a main road.
4,000 acres.
Yeah, in the heart of his property, and that to me is one of the favorite things that I get out of this, is just meeting these people who are more than happy to have you up to do this for them, and we don't charge any money.
Nope.
We take pictures with them, we post them, and when their furs are good, that's what we get out of them, is their furs.
On that subject or whatever, my what I get out of it too is helping the property owners, obviously, and helping my own property. Having the camaraderie, I guess, say, on this team. That's one big thing I love.
Yep.
That's another big reason I wanted to join Overdrive, is just to be a part of something that you guys had the same beliefs and as me, and how I look at the outdoors, and that camaraderie on top of that is a really big why I enjoy it so much, coyote hunting.
There's so many guys in it now.
And there's so many people. I've met so many people that I'd have never. And it's a lot different for me. With the coyote pages that are out there and everybody talking, I before I got into coyote hunting, I had my family and my friends or whatever that I knew, locally. But I've met so many people so fast and became good friends with them. And some of these people, technically, I've never even seen face to face, but we talk nonstop. And we message. But I know their whole life history so fast, and that's a big thing, I think, in the coyote world, especially in Michigan, that impressed me so much was that camaraderie of everybody, going to these tournaments and seeing everybody talk, and everybody's not just sitting at one table,
Everybody's wandering around.
And
that's the best part of the tournaments is just getting together with everybody, putting faces to names besides pictures, actually getting to know people. But social media's had such an impact. Like, I travel for work every so often. I can just make a post on Facebook like, hey, I'm going down to Ohio, who wants to hunt? And there'll be people that say, bring your stuff and you can hunt with me for a night. Or even across the state. I'm going to Auburn Hills this week. I guarantee I could send somebody a message and say, who's out in this area that wants to coyote hunt?
But yeah, and you're talking about the property owners, I have made a lot of friends, people that I've never would have thought of like that. We were talking about on the way up here that
Opportunities.
The opportunities that is presented to my kids and to me from property owners once they earn you earn their respect, and you build that relationship with them property owners. And not all property owners are going to be like this, and which is fine, but it's nice to be able to have other opportunities, like allowing my my kids to start deer hunting on their properties, and it's really amazing to see that.
Yeah, and that's with me too. I've got 3 kids. I've got my daughter Olivia, my middle boy Owen, and my oldest boy Carter. And hunting coyotes, just coyotes for certain landowners, has gotten my kids on amazing ground to go watch deer or go shoot a doe.
Just killing coyotes this weekend. We've gotten permission from 2 different landowners to bring people up to
bear
hunt.
And that in itself, I mean, where else are you going to get permission to bear hunt without hunting public land or knocking on doors? But people would just open up their doors and say, oh, you help me out, let me scratch your back.
Yep. And that to me is probably one of my favorite parts. We got the camaraderie, we got all the friends that come out of this world, but my favorite part is these landowners that still run on the shake your hand and let you go on it. Don't do me wrong and you'll be all right. And I love that part. I've shaken so many landowners' hands and just gotten their permission to go run their ground whenever I want to hunt these coyotes, and then it turns into, hey, if your boy wants to come out and shoot a doe, bring him out here and shoot one.
Yep.
And it's like, I'm a deer hunting. I hunt public land for deer. I don't have permission
to hunt.
I don't have private land to hunt anymore. And opening up those opportunities for my boys, my kids, I will continue to throw money away at shooting these mostly worthless coyotes for those opportunities for my kids, because I think that setting my kids up to have opportunities later in life is kind of something that I need to do my best at, and if I can do that by doing something I love and coming up and shooting coyotes. This landowner in particular said, we can take my whole family up here later this summer for a week of vacation. And I have a cabin, I have a running shower, I have water, toilet, beds, everything, And that to me is my favorite.
Yep.
One of my favorite things that I've gained out of this.
Yeah, I agree.
But, we've been up here for 2 nights now. What have you guys seen that's different up here compared to down south?
Well, we were promised morels, and we have not found any morels.
I'm sorry, guys.
So we're getting lied to right off the bat.
Landowner said they have not gotten any of their spring rains that they usually do.
It is dry.
Yeah, it's very dry. The coyotes we've had on the dead rack for the past 2 nights have been nothing but a big
dust ball by the time we get back to the camp.
I should not have washed my truck on the way.
No, he's got a nice, pretty Chevy Silverado that it doesn't look so clean and pretty right now. He even washed the inside like a dummy. Like we're not gonna be stepping in cow patties every night out here. But we have seen, like I said at the beginning, we've seen 10 coyotes now. Joe, we were talking on your first set, on the one you guys killed on. Down south, by home, these coyotes are starting to get very IR wary.
Oh, without a doubt. And so, a couple weeks ago, Josh and I went out. There, we called in a coyote who came in on a string. And he had houses right behind him. So I was waiting for him to clear the houses before I had a clear shot. I'm watching him through the thermal. I don't even bother turning on my IR until I'm ready to shoot.
Yep.
And I'm watching him through the thermal, coming in on a string. He stopped right at the wood line, turned and faced me 150 yards away.
Maybe.
I turned on my IR and he booked it. I didn't even have a chance to even turn off the safety on my rifle.
Yep.
Before he booked it across that field. He was gone. Second he saw that IR. And we come up here and I've been watching coyotes through the night vision for 10-15 minutes.
The whole time while they're out in the field.
Circling around us downwind, and they don't care. They're not used to the IR. The thermal helps, but they're also not educated because when we see them, hopefully we kill them.
Mm-hmm. But that shows a little bit of difference in pressure. How much hunting pressure is south versus north above the bridge.
Yeah, I said a couple weeks ago with Carl, first time out with him. I called in a coyote 4 minutes into the set, comes out, right on a beeline to me. And the first time we hunted with Carl, I was like, I let him take this coyote, So take him and turn that IR on, and it's amazing sometimes that pressure. But I've hunted that field before, and I've missed, or me or Kevin have missed on that field before. I'll just say Kevin, because Kevin missed. But it could have been one we educated, with that light, and it stopped that coyote dead in its tracks, and he jumped right back in, and I called him back out one more time, but he was focused right on us. You could see him absolutely focused on us, and he never came out. So I think hunting pressure does affect your IR performance immensely.
Yeah, that's the one thing too. When we started coyote hunting, there weren't many people that did it.
No. We had the Michigan, the scrap horn boards.
It's blown up, so
you could have hundreds of miles where there were maybe 2-3 coyote hunters out there. So you could have thousands of acres that nobody else touched.
Yep.
Now knocking on doors, even down around me, every door I knock on, I got somebody already hunting out there. So there's at least 5 other people hunting in my area.
Yep.
I don't know what sounds they're using. I don't know if they're using IR or thermal. I don't know if they're using red lights. But there's other people hunting them.
Yep.
So you gotta learn to adapt to what they respond to and how they act to your setup or the wind if they circle downwind. I mean, even the first night here, you were surprised that they were even going downwind.
Usually when we're up here, they don't show any hunting pressure at all. They come beelining right in. But the first 4 coyotes that we called in up here circled way downwind. And the funniest thing too is down home, we were talking. You mentioned earlier, Mike, about how it's a little bit different. They're set behind. Mm-hmm. We think they're behind a little farther up here. Like when they have puppies down south by home is a couple weeks earlier than when they do up here. It seems like
it changes
your call sequence because you want to use certain sounds down there where if the coyotes are dropping pups down south, you can use pup distress. But if they haven't dropped pups up here and you run pup distress, they know something's wrong.
Yeah, that's what it seemed. That's what I was trying to. As
soon as you turn on pup distress, that one turned around and booked it
like they've been shot at.
It's been educated and it knew it's not time for this. I'm out of here, and he left.
Which is weird because most of the time when we play pup distress, it don't matter what time of the year it is. It's just a pup distress sound, and they'll come running. But
I know people that say play that exact same sound in December.
Yep.
And calling coyotes left and right.
Yep.
But you played at the wrong time. They know something's wrong, or they've been educated, and they know something's not right. They're about to get shot at again.
Yeah, I've never seen a coyote run that fast from pup distress sounds. Like,
He was coming in on a string, too.
Yeah.
Straight to us. And then the second you turn that on, he turned around, booked it 180 degrees the opposite direction.
which I think, because we had seen two on that first spot that came out downwind, and then one of them went back into the woods and flanked us.
The other
all
one
the way around us.
went the exact opposite direction.
Yeah, they both separated and went completely opposite ways, and I could see the one running into the field on the opposite and not downwind anymore. He was on the other side over here by the cabin, and I thought, well, screw it, I'll hit pup distress and get them to come up, at least up the hill for us, and you'd have thought you just mag dumped on them.
You know, but on that token, though, do you think, though, because they already winded us at one point, they knew something was...
It's a possibility,
You know, they knew something was up in that area and something was not right, so they were already on high alert.
Yep.
You know, and then you throw in a sound that maybe is not prevalent to the time up here yet, just kind of send them...
Yeah, and we don't know that for sure.
No,
just
we
how
don't
we
know.
think, but we don't know how coyotes think. So,
Well, and a lot of people that don't coyote hunt will drive around fields and see coyotes out in the middle of a field.
Mhm.
Oh, they're just everywhere. Somebody I used to know, he shot 5 coyotes on his property and said that was the easiest hunt I've ever had. He said, I don't know why you have such a hard time with pressure and just different calling sequences and sounds and everything. Coyotes get educated real quick.
Yep.
And people don't understand that. You don't give them the benefit of the doubt with that.
which and even at that, you know, if they weren't educated on this property, which landowner says nobody's been up here,
Well, he's been hunting too.
yeah, but not calling.
No.
No calling.
Hunts them on bait in the wintertime when he needs to. But just because they're not educated on this property don't mean that they've never been called in and shot at a
And they
mile or two
migrate.
down the road.
They'll migrate. I got the same. I don't know for sure, but I'm 99% convinced I have a 5-mile stretch where I have 5 different pieces of property. And if the same 2 coyotes aren't at one piece, they'll be 3 miles down the road. And I see the same 2 coyotes. It has to be the same 2 coyotes, just run a big loop.
Yep.
So they migrate to different locations based on the season, the time of the year,
Food sources.
food sources,
Cover.
everything.
Cover types, just like deer, they got to get out of when everything that was thick is now wide open. That's not where they're hiding anymore.
So the coyotes that we're calling up here might be educated from
Yeah,
5-10 miles away.
The second set we had them come out, they lit up like crazy, right in front of us, and they couldn't. These two couldn't tell that they were even coyotes howling at us because of where they were. They were kind of standing in some machinery in between some trailers.
Echoing back and forth.
Yep.
Sounded like the caller the entire time.
Yep. So I did a couple Tony Tevye Elite female howls, and they lit up to that. And I could instantly see them after I knew where they were. I could see them working through that brush. But even those, they had every opportunity to come straight at the caller.
Straight to the caller.
But instead, they went 300 yards down through the woods and then popped out straight downwind as far as they could. Stayed on the backside of a hill, so the only opportunities we ever had was at the very tips of their head, between their ears, because you couldn't see
Didn't see
anything
anything else.
And we never even knew what ended up happening to those coyotes.
No, never.
Granted, they could have been one of the 2 we killed last night because they were all headed that same direction. Like I said when we began this, we've got 4 dead up here now out of 10 seen. We've only shot 5 times, and one of them was I missed one.
We've
the first
shot
time.
at 5 coyotes. That's
Yep.
it.
I shot at one. We had 3 in the same field when you guys doubled, and you guys 1, 2, 3, boom. Both of yours died, and mine took off running. That was coming on my side, which also was headed straight downwind. They all have gone pretty much straight downwind. And mine stopped, I think, 300 yards or something, and I
330, I think, is what you said.
I put one on them, and I must have just squeezed it at the wrong time. But so we've shot at 5 coyotes, got 4 of them, 2 males, 2 females, And everything this weekend has died to a distress of some sort. Usually, well, baby cottontail or that little fox collar that we've got from Predator Hunter Outdoors, the little mouse squeaker that we've got.
Mm-hmm.
The one last night, Mike, you go ahead and tell that one, because that was Mike had to change his shorts after that one.
Yeah, so you're in the UP up here in Michigan, and you have to deal with wolves. That I don't have to deal with at home. Bear, which there's bear around, but they're more prevalent up here, and we're on set, and we see this coyote already in the field, and Joe's on it.
And that one was
what 300,
335.
and it's mousing around down at the bottom of this hill, in this little valley swamp area, really not wanting anything to do with us at that point. I think I had other things in mind, so we're watching that, and Josh goes into that little squeaker from who is that from?
Predator Hunter Outdoors.
Yeah, Predator Hunter Outdoors. Goes into that, and I see that coyote. Did you see him lift his head up and look?
Yeah, he was listening to it.
He definitely caught his attention really fast.
I think he was more preoccupied with mousing in the
There
corner.
was something down there.
Yeah,
We didn't call him in. He happened to be there, and he wasn't
Yeah.
showing any interest in the call.
So my back was to this little ridge knob that the 2-track, goes down.
And on the other side of that, about 75 to 100 yards, is a big old swamp.
And I scanned over there. I guess at night I wasn't realizing it was that pronounced of a hill. I thought I was looking down into that swampy area. But all of a sudden I could hear something on a full sprint, to me in the dark. And I turn around and all you can see is ears and teeth at 20 yards.
You hear him breathing almost.
Yeah, and I didn't even have. That coyote came in so fast though. By the time I let that coyote was there,
He
was
like 40
already
yards past us.
40 yards past us, and I'm like, to the call, to the call.
And it couldn't have been 5 seconds because Josh and I were focused on the one that was 300 yards away.
Yeah.
And we're watching that one, still scanning around the field and everything, but we were more focused on the one that was already there. And then we hear from our left, by the call! And I didn't have time to even... I located it in the thermal, went to get on night vision, and Josh dropped him.
I didn't drop him.
No.
I took her heart rate out from behind her shoulders.
Yeah.
But it wasn't 2-3 seconds of seeing it to the time that it got shot.
You gotta be quick.
Just like that.
Sometimes you gotta be real quick, and sometimes you can watch them come forever.
Them are some of the funnest hunts though, aren't they?
Yeah.
The hard chargers and the surprise and the excitement. That's fun.
But see, based on what we saw on that one though, that coyote should have caught our wind the whole time.
Yeah, I couldn't tell if it ran between us and the collar or right on the outside of that collar.
Yeah.
I mean, it had to have been within 5
yards.
5 yards of that collar, I would say.
But when we turned on lights, our wind was you could see the steam from our breath going right downwind, right towards where that coyote was.
I think that coyote was so committed though.
Yep.
Already.
Didn't care.
He was so focused and determined on something.
On the sound.
That it didn't really matter that it was downwind at that point. And at that range, it could have windless or not, as long as we could get it to stop. He was, or she was actually well within range.
Because I think I shot her about
50, 60
50,
yards.
60, yeah. Took her heart out from underneath her with 243 that was also built by Tools of Trade, Sales and Service, Kevin Rott. And that thing is just, I love that gun.
Talking about, you were asking him, like, what have you learned since you've been up here? I would say on all of our rest of our set, something I would do is seeing how these coyotes adapted or how they act downwind. I would always, call placement is going to be huge up here. And making sure you have a good shooting opportunity downwind.
Yep.
And having a shooter on the downwind side at all times.
Yep.
That's something I have learned already up here. There has to be a shooter
watching
downwind and making sure your downwind is a clear shooting path.
But see, you can't you can't always put your eggs all in that basket.
No.
Because
Nope, you're
we
true.
wouldn't kill a lot of them. At night, it seems like they let their guard down a lot more. They will come in from downwind, they'll come in from upwind, they'll come right by your truck if they want to. But we've pretty much set up most of our sets to be able to shoot downwind, but like that second double we called in, they stayed behind the ridge just perfect. Where, yeah, we could have shot them had that hill have not been there that they decided to go down behind.
Yeah.
And then we never even saw them leave. They
must have
They
tucked
bottom.
behind a ridge. I was seeing 275 to 280, and we keep bringing up ranges. We're using the ATN ABL to detect range at night, and it works great. But so 280 yards is what I was seeing, but all I could see was their head popping up over this ridge, and I watched them all the way go along right downwind of us, and then they just disappeared. We didn't see them book it through the field.
Nope.
They just kind of
Wandered.
disappeared.
Yep.
So they didn't act spooked because we could see past the ridge down towards the rest of the field, but I didn't see them ever run through the rest of the field.
Mm-mm. And they
So-
might have still been behind that ridge when we left, for
left,
all we know, but I wasn't going to go walk out there and bust them out.
Sometimes it's best just to leave and
Yep.
not educate them anymore. You don't need to pull a trigger if you don't have a shot.
And it seems like today we have a west wind, which sets that one up perfectly because they have no chance of getting downwind of us without coming all the way around, going to the area you were watching that first night.
Into a chunk of the field that we can shoot.
Yep. Anything else though? I mean, we've been doing this for almost an hour. This is our first one, and we're just up here for one more night, and hopefully the coyotes will be moving again. But the cool thing I want people to realize too, though, up here, we don't run our properties like we do down south. We don't run them like we do up here. I will not make the same circle 2-3 nights in a row. Go hunt the same stands.
I
2-3
leave at least
nights
a
in
week
row.
to 2 weeks before I even touch a property.
The
again.
wind,
Yep.
playing down, the winds. We're not really.
You get wind direction changes, different sounds. Joe, you've got your call up here. We might be better off running that tonight.
We're hunting such a large piece of property.
And he is so tired of them moving in out here.
Yeah, he what did he tell us this morning? He killed 27 just this spring.
Yep.
We killed 4 this weekend.
Yep.
And we seen 10. So there's 6 coyotes out there, and every time you shoot some, it seems like more migrate in.
Yep.
And they're not going to be educated. We can hit the exact same setup, the exact same way, and call in completely different coyotes every night.
Yep. And that's what we do seemingly every time we're up here. It's so much ground, but there's still only certain spots that you can hunt, especially at night.
Yeah.
But granted, you've got these pastures that are so big, you can hunt them from any corner and see 6, 7, 8, 9,000 yards. And if we need to, we'll just get up and start walking to them from now on.
Yep.
We got one more night. We're hoping to put at least a couple more on that pole for the landowner. I think we'll wrap this one up. Thank you guys for being up here with us this weekend. This has been a fun time.
Stay
A lot of
tuned
fun.
for a couple more podcasts.
Yep. If you do like what you hear on this one, please, if you don't already follow us on Facebook and YouTube, hit the like button, hit subscribe, and we'll hopefully be bringing you, we will be bringing
Some
you
good
more of
footage
this.
from this weekend for sure.
Yep, our YouTube's going to have a video up from this weekend. We got at least 4 kills now on it. So let's go do some more. We'll talk to y'all later. Thank you for listening.
Want to lengthen your time in the field and shorten your scouting time? Not only does the HuntWise app show you property boundaries, landowners' names, and in some cases even their phone number, but using the app will show you the wind direction on the map of the place you want to hunt. And the HuntCast feature shows peak movement times for various species, including predators. Get the HuntWise app at www.huntwise.com, the Google Play Store, or the Apple App Store for only $59.99 a year for Pro or $119.99 a year for Elite. Use promo code OVERDRIVE20 for 20% off an annual membership.